Today I have something incredibly exciting for you, which is a sneak peek at one of the lessons in my online drum school, DBO Academy. Let's dive right in. Today you are going to learn some essential church drummer tom grooves, so let's jump into it. Toms are hugely important in church drumming and worship music in general. The creativity that church drummers have with toms is much more out of the ordinary than you might see within all the other genres of music. For example, sometimes they can completely replace a snare sound with a tom. Here'd be a quick example of a beat where they would do that. Another unique way that church drummers use toms, instead of making their beats sound bigger by crashing on the crash cymbals or the ride, they actually come up with these big anthemic tom grooves like this. On top of that, tom grooves are so vital for church drumming because it can be an easy go-to for almost any verse groove. So why do tom grooves show up so much within church drumming and worship music as a whole? Well, my theory is that the toms are one of the few things on the drum kit that don't have a harsh sound. If you think about it, the cymbals and the snare drum are by far the loudest and harshest sounds that we have on our drum kit. So when we take those things away and we just have toms and kick primarily, well, our grooves instantly sound more peaceful and more atmospheric, which is perfect for worship music. Before we check out that groove, this lesson is from a full course called the Church Drummer Training Camp that can be found on my online drum school, DBO Academy. Now more than ever, drummers are being thrown millions of different lessons their way, which can leave you feeling really overwhelmed, confused, and stuck on the drum kit. But at DBO Academy, you get a personalized lesson path that helps you take your drumming to the next level fast. Right now, if you join, we are giving away $600 worth of free bonuses as well as a permanent discount on your membership. So if you want instant access to DBO Academy plus the bonuses and a permanent discount, click the link right up here to join because this offer is going to end on May 1st. But now let's check out this groove. So something that's really important to know is that there are 4 levels of tom grooves within church drumming, starting off with level 1, which is where we create a tom groove with only the kick and toms. There's no snare and there are no cymbals. So let's start off with the first level of tom grooves, which has no snare. So the way we are going to do this first, and the way that so many church tom grooves start off, is with quarter notes on the kick drum. This is the foundation of so many church tom grooves. Then what you can do from there with your dominant hand is simply start off by playing 8th notes on the floor tom. Then all we are going to do with your weak hand is you're going to add in a couple notes on the rack tom and the floor tom, filling in those 16th notes. I use this groove all the time. I think it sounds awesome. So now let's build it in the 3 steps, starting with the kick, then the 8th notes, and then we'll let our weak hand finish it out. Here's what it sounds like. Now, when we move into level 2 of essential tom grooves, it becomes incredibly easy. We use level 1 as the foundation, and all we do is we add a snare drum on beat 3. It's incredibly simple, but it brings a new life and energy into this beat, and oftentimes it can be awesome to start like the first half of the verse with just level 1, and then the second half with level 2 where you bring in the snare, and it just helps that song build that much more. So now let's hear what this sounds like. Now for level 3, we are moving the snare drum from beat 3 to beat 4. I basically call this the church drummer halftime groove, because traditionally halftime is when snare drum is on beat 3, but so many worship songs and church grooves have the snare drum on beat 4, and it just feels like a different type of halftime where there's almost even more space. The only other difference is that we're gonna move our weak hand from the floor tom to the rack tom on the of beat 3, so right before that snare drum. And that's simply because it's just awkward. You'd have to cross over from your floor tom to your snare. So this way it keeps all the hands more open and just flowing easier. So here's what level 3 sounds like. The great thing about all these grooves is you can slow them down and make them feel more low key simply by removing kick drums. So instead of playing the kicks on all quarter notes, you could have it just be on beats 1 and 3, or even just on beat 1, and you're gonna get a similar sound, but even with just less going on. But if you wanted to add more to the groove, that would take us to the 4th level of dynamics, which is adding quarter notes to the ride cymbal. So what we're gonna do here is put the snare drum back on beat 3, and we don't even have to alter the floor tom pattern very much. Just the ones that we're playing on the down beats, 1, 2, 3, and 4, those are now gonna be played on the ride, and everything else is the same. So now let's put these together actually in context with the song and hear what it sounds like. Now that you understand the different levels of dynamics, let me teach you the classic halftime church drummer tom groove. We're gonna start off with quarter notes on the kick, then all of our tom hits are going to be both toms together, and then we are gonna play a flam on the snare drum on beat 4. This has a really awesome anthemic church tom groove that I think sounds awesome. But what's so cool about this is we can apply the levels of dynamics to this one groove. So we can start off with just the floor tom, then maybe both toms, and then adding in the snare drum, and if you even wanted to, the ride cymbal. Let's hear what that sounds like all together. If you're having a hard time executing these tom grooves within the song, it could be because you're not exposed to enough intermediate beats. So click right here to learn 20 intermediate beats that will help you get started. And you can join DBO Academy right up here. There are only a couple weeks left to get $600 worth of bonuses and a permanent discount on your account. I'll see you there. Stay true.